Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
All right. Welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. It is, thank you, Richard, for that intro. Also, this is October 10th, 2023, and it's episode 38. And we are just moving right along here.
Yeah, I mentioned to the wife last night, we were getting ready to go to bed. I said, yep. She goes, oh, that's right. You got your little thingy in the morning.
Are you sure she was talking about the podcast? I don't think I like it.
I said, you have to say it like that. I said, well, yeah, I said, it's our 38th episode. She goes, what? You've been doing it this long? Yes, dear. And people, by the way, if you hear me start sounding like a 13-year-old boy changing his voice again, it's because my voice is going El Crapo. I have been doing lines and stuff for the play for the Senior Citizen Tour that's about to begin on Thursday is opening day.
And you're kind of stressed.
I don't have to
stressed about it. You got a lot of lines to remember, so you're
well, it's only about 25 minutes worth of lines and cues.
Yeah. Hey, did you? It just reminds me. Did you see the video I sent you yesterday from for that girl? What's her face? She was talking about the all the stuff about COVID and the history and Dr. Robert Malone and you got to see it. I think I texted it to you or I sent it on Messenger. I can't remember. Anyway,
did you send it late? I don't know how I missed it, but
it was yesterday afternoon. Anyway, and we may play that in a future episode just because it's so good. She has done her homework and she's funny at the same time. If you go to YouTube and look up What's Her Face, and I think it's
someone else who's informatively funny like us.
She's I got to admit, she's much better than we are. So, I think it's
possible.
I think it's WHF Entertainment. I think if you look that up, she's on there. She's fantastic. I don't know her real name. She always goes by What's Her Face, but she's got an
that's what she goes by.
Yeah, What's Her Face. She's Canadian and she's but man, I don't know whether she was a stand-up comic or whatever, but she's had some good stuff out there. So maybe I'll try to download that video and put it up on our socials and put it on our YouTube channel because that's really, really good. Anyway,
speaking of Canadians, since you brought it up, we'll do a posthumous happy Thanksgiving to our Canadian friends north of the border. Yeah. Yesterday was Thanksgiving Day, Columbus Day, Indigenous Day. I don't know what all the days were on one calendar thing. But anyhow, it was our Thanksgiving yesterday.
Now, do they have turkey and
yes, they do. Just virtually everything that we do. They just do it about a month early, month and a half.
They don't. Do they go out in a boat or anything like that? I mean, it seems like that would be the thing to do in Canada. But I happen to hear a radio station when I lived in upstate New York for about 5 years, and you could pick up Toronto radio stations, and
oh yeah,
that was one of the things whenever I would listen. And I'm a radio geek because I love listening to radio stations from all around the world. And now with the internet, it's much easier. But that was one thing. It was a commercial that it kept coming on over and over. Is oh, you going out in a boat this weekend? And it's like doing what? I honestly did not know what he was talking about. I had to wait until my wife was home and go, listen to this. I have no idea what he's saying. What's he saying?
Are you going to go out in your boat to go fishing, eh?
Yeah.
No, I for whatever reason, I've just really gotten into Canadian football. So yeah, the announcer's going, well, he's a boat to the line. It's like, what?
What? It's almost like a different language. Well, then again, I guess if you go
they are foreigners.
They're foreigners.
International foreigners.
They're from that up north place that nobody down here understands the word that they're saying. But if you go to Scotland, you go to Australia, sometimes their vernacular is a little bit funny too. I mean, it's like, if you're in Australia, they're talking about Tucker. It's like, what the heck is Tucker? It's food. So anyway, so you got all these different things that, Canadians are no different. They probably think the same about us.
Yeah, I'm sure that we don't have any accents issues in the U.S.
No.
at all. Somebody had them totaled up. There's like over 100 or something for different regions. And I started working for a company in Cincinnati, Ohio. And if somebody doesn't hear you, I don't know what it's like in your area. It's like, excuse me, or pardon me. In Cincinnati, Ohio, first I was talking to somebody, they go, please? Please what?
Please what?
But they don't hear you. So instead of saying please what, it's just gotten shortened over the years to please. And it's just a Cincinnati regional thing. So somebody goes, you're talking along and they go, please?
I knew somebody from Dayton that said that if you talk to somebody from Cincinnati, they could have like a slight Southern accent, which is like it's really Midwestern. It's not really Southern, but yeah. So the state of Ohio is very diverse as far as accents go anyway. You talk to somebody from Cleveland, they sound completely different than Cincinnati. So,
well, Cincinnati, Ohio's airport is not in Ohio.
It's in Kentucky, right?
It's across the river, y'all. So
yeah,
it depends on how many swim the river that the accent covers over, I guess. I don't know.
If somebody says please to me, I just should not come back with sorry. That's my last piece of gum. I mean, that's not what they were asking about. They wanted interesting.
Yeah, that's probably one of the more odd ones that y'all. I can understand the Southerner. That's no problem at all because in Southern Idaho we have a real good Idaho twang. Just a minute, I'll get it for you. And people ask all the time, "Are you pretending to do a Texas accent?"
Yeah, I was going to say that does sound kind of Texan. It does, yeah.
Yeah, it does. I'm going. No, that's just how I try to articulate and speak properly without.
Yes. That's all we try to do is try to speak properly, which is why it's taken me 12 years to get to where I am today. But I never really had a thick accent anyway. Being from Florida, I mean,
you're going to have to watch the time I just got chewed out. But yes, I know. I'm telling him just a minute. Yeah, I get it. I know. I forgot to hit the timer this morning. I'm not very wide awake. I haven't been up barely an hour.
I put him on mute when we first started, so I'm not hearing a thing.
We do. Well, I turned it off to talk back to him, and of course, that wasn't a wise thing to do.
One thing we like to do is kick it off with an Uncle Joe thing that he never fails to give us sound bites every week. So this is for this week.
It's Uncle Joe's Wisdom of the Week.
People sometimes say, why are you doing that? Imagine if a long time Roosevelt and telephones came along and said, we're not going to help invest in telephones. Come on, man. I don't know what we're thinking.
Roosevelt and telephones. It goes together like peanut butter and jelly. Sure. I mean,
and I did see that one, and it was like, what the hell did that have to do with what you were talking about? What? And everybody's going, and I love all these when he has speaking to a group and he does this and it makes no sense. They all go,
yep, exactly. I thought that
like a bunch of flippers going off.
He's got his people. But yeah, so I mean, I learned a lot from that. So we'll move on.
Sorry to comment so fervently. I've got a vocabulary today and everything.
I know. No, I mean, we learned a lot from Joe giving us that history lesson on telephones and Roosevelt. I just had no idea there was a connection there. Back in September, Uncle Joe and his people gave Iran access to $6 billion. Now, according to CNN, it said it would be used for humanitarian purposes. And it was also a deal to release 5 Americans that were in prison there, I think since 2016. I didn't even know there were prisoners there. I did not keep up with that. That was news to me. But anyway, they had been in prison there for a while. But they got free because of that release of that $6 billion. So what do you think Iran did with that money? They were good little boys and girls and used it for humanitarian purposes, right?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. That wasn't humor. I apologize.
It was humor. It was just very sad humor. This past Saturday, of course, everybody has heard the news now. Hamas and the Sunni Islamist organization that governs in Gaza bombed a stew out of mostly residential areas of Israel. Now, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Fund, said that the number on Saturday was of those missiles was about 2,200, while Hamas says it was closer to 5,000. One way or the other, and we both have seen the same numbers that 600 plus have perished over those kind of things. And you have a stat on that kind of number too, right?
Yeah, it's they were saying that's the most Jewish people that have been killed in a single day since the concentration camps and World War II. So it's just kind of a sad deal, but I will give props to Israel. They didn't hesitate. They were right back on stuff. They've already something like 800,000 have been called up from the reserves quick. They're all, man, it's
and they're ready to go because they knew this was coming. They just didn't know when. Iran, of course, is in bed with Hamas there in Gaza.
Oh, yeah. They're funding it. So it's like, ooh. And here's the other sad thing I read in an article that they don't have actual. It's hearsay at the moment, but I can see it happening, is that a lot of the weapons being used came from Afghanistan that were left behind.
That doesn't surprise me. I did not hear that. That's
again, it's things that they're looking at and that it's extremely possible.
Yeah.
Because folks that were trying to run from them went, wait a minute, somebody who understands and can look at something and know where it came from went, that doesn't look like a Russian gun, which is where they get most of their guns from.
Right. Well, and they're not even trying to hide anything really much anymore. And this was meant to be kind of to lighten it up a little bit. But according to a spokesperson of Hamas, he said this. Okay, that's enough of that. What he had to say, smarter people than me who speak that language, said the quote from that speech, which came out Sunday morning, I think it was. It might have been Saturday afternoon. It depends. It says, "We thank Iran for providing us with weapons, money, and other equipment. He gave us missiles to destroy Zionist fortresses and helped us with anti-tank missiles." So they're not even hiding it anymore. It's none of this hush hush thing. Iran has funded this whole thing. And of course, Iran has made no secret for many years saying that they want the destruction of Israel.
Well, most of the Middle East does.
Yeah.
And Israel don't play. It's not like, oh, we're going to come out there and be these big, real brave soldiers to go shoot a bunch of people down that were out having a good time at they called it kind of a rave concert, I guess. It was supposed to be like an overnight 24-hour type thing, whatever it was, out in a field of some sort. So there was no place to hide. There was no place to go. It was big open stuff. And oh boy, that really makes you a super soldier, doesn't it?
Yeah. I guess they paraglided in. Some of these people were paragliding in. So it's like, and I'm going to get on my soapbox here a little bit, but you have, God gave this land to Abraham many, many thousand years ago. And of course, they've come and gone. They've gone to Egypt for a while. They came back, and around 70 AD, the Roman occupation kind of kicked everybody out. So it was a huge diaspora around then. And for 1900 years, the Israelis, for the most part, were not there. Back about 100 years ago, the Brits kind of took possession of the land, and in 1948 they established Israel as their own individual country, recognized by it was either the UN or the League of Nations. I can't remember which.
I believe it was the UN.
Yeah, at that time. So anyway, they and ever since then, of course, all the Arab countries around there saying this was our land, and I get where they're coming from, I believe, because they, the tribal people that had lived in that land for a long, long time. I get it. But, this was, if you got to go back and realize that historically, this was something that Abraham established. And if you talk to any Muslim, they understand who Abraham is, and they're not, that's something they're not familiar with. So, anyway, all that to be said is that they have not liked Israel being in that land. And but, God said back in, I think it's in the book of Isaiah, where it said that, he was going to bring his people back into his land. And prior to 1948, that had never happened. So it's very interesting. And of course, Netanyahu recently has just said the retaliation is coming. You said they called up 800,000 reservists in Israel.
Something like that. It was a huge number.
So we'll have to.
Yeah, I read a little bit on an article of it yesterday, and some of the things and seeing stuff of folks that witnessed some of this stuff, some of their stories. I just had to quit reading after a while. It was just really sad and disturbing at the same time.
It is. And I think it's going to get uglier as time goes on, unfortunately, because this, who knows how big this is going to be. Prophetically, it could be huge. And we just don't know. We just don't know. This is what it's going to similarly look like eventually. But in typical fashion, just before we go to break here, the DSA, or the Democratic Socialists of America, are actually celebrating the attack. AOC and the others within that caucus have openly condemned the attack, of course, but they held a rally in New York City yesterday praising Hamas and the resilience of the people of Gaza. I don't think we should forget how this has gone. It's just,
and it's not. Those people over there have, and then complain about it. They use human shields. They put their artillery and stuff in like playgrounds of elementary schools. So you have to virtually bomb a elementary school to stop it. And then, you kill all our people. Well, what the hell? You're the one who decided that's not how it.
That's cowardice.
People don't mean anything to them.
It's cowardice, and you're right, because
flat ass out and out cowardice.
Just like the extreme left in this country, they play on your humanity, on your morals, and they play just to make they work that against you, because you don't want to kill kids. Nobody in their right mind wants to kill kids. But like you said, they don't see people as valuable at all. They're just here for a time and gone.
They're just objects to get something that's it's sad, but the first thing I thought of with these 100 and some odd people or more that they've kidnapped is, well, what's happened when old Joe releases money? Now we're a bank for somebody.
There you go.
I don't care what anybody says. It goes back to piss poor management of this administration has caused all these issues. Because if you don't have any strength, and they see how weak we are because nothing's being done with the military, well, I'm surprised we even spending the money for fuel to move aircraft carrier and some other items in through the Mediterranean
F-16s,
over there too.
Yeah, we're sending but we've already depleted our a lot of our military sending stuff to Ukraine. So you got almost think that if I was Hamas, I'd see they're Israel's biggest ally is depleted. So that now's a great time to do this. So
that's what they're saying. And now we're going to be dealing with that. What do you think is going to happen on the backside, as in Taiwan and China?
Oh yeah. Well,
they're busy over there. They got two things going. We'll which is what Japan did in World War II. We were busy over fighting in Europe, and they kind of snuck up from the backside. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute here, and think, they couldn't. They kicked the beehive
because Japan was very busy trying to take over China at that point, and so we were just like, wow, we'll deal with him later, and then it ended up they came to us. So it could get real ugly for us too. So you just got to be prepared. Anyway, we're up on a break. Wow, we're way over, and we will come back in just a minute. Hang in there.
How would you describe the Stay Off My Lawn radio show and podcast?
I guess informatively funny.
We couldn't have said it better ourselves. We'll be right back.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest. Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and we're going to get off of that whole Israel thing. Just keep your eye on it, folks. I mean, because you might think it's over there, it's not going to affect us, but one day, you just don't know. Anyway, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna. I had heard of this guy before, just because it's a funny name. I don't know much about him. He is a Democrat. He said something on the House floor recently that I agree with 100%. I honestly can't remember the last time that happened. So here it is.
The American people are frustrated and exhausted with the corruption and role of big money in the halls of Congress. That is why I'm introducing a 5-point plan. First, ban all PAC and lobbyist money to congressional campaigns. I don't take a dime of it. Second, ban completely stock trading and members of Congress from ever becoming lobbyists. Activists like Unusual Whales, Quiver Quantitative, and the leaders at Crew have been mobilizing for this. Third, term limits for members of Congress. Fourth, term limits for Supreme Court justices. And fifth, an ethics code for Supreme Court justices. This is common sense. The people demand it. It's time we give them back their government and we reform in Washington. We should have bipartisan support for this 5-point plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield back.
I'm not sure what he was referring to with the Supreme Court justices, but
Yeah, he had me right up until there
Yeah.
because that's a crock of crap. They do have ethics that they have to follow.
I would think.
And it's like, okay, because you're not getting your way in the Supreme Court, that's how you're going to list it. I'm okay with mostly everything else.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
am
have a
too.
problem with that. And from a Democrat?
I
Are
know.
you serious?
I don't know what he
Oh.
meant by unusual whales, or I forgot what the other thing is. I meant to Google all that and be honest with you. Be honest with y'all, I have no idea what he's talking about there. But
I didn't get that either.
obviously it has something to do with stock trading and all that.
I didn't think
which-
anybody in Congress was that big. I mean, that's not.
No,
wasn't-
not that.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it was not about Jerry Nadler. Does he not look like the penguin from the first Batman? I mean, I
Yes,
think
he
I
does.
may have said that before. Anyway, this guy is somebody to watch. Maybe he's very much a centrist apparently, because he's got some common sense to him, and a lot of that does make a lot of good common sense. So
Yep, that's folks. I told our illustrious leader. That's what I call Mike. That's the best term I can come up for him. I don't have
illustrious. It's like a dim light, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
It's good.
well, your shiny is just not much of a bulb to it.
It's just my forehead that's shiny. That's all.
But I looked at the list because Leslie's already puts together our list. We send stuff back and forth, and then he picks things from all the stuff that we're sending back and forth all week. And I went, I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that one. I don't know anything about that one. And all of a sudden I'm going, oh yeah, I know that. I know. I just didn't recognize it by the names. I have heard his little speech thing. That one I'd heard. So yeah, it was like, a Democrat? Seriously? Wow. Because I was looking the other day at what somebody's wealth was when they came into Congress and what it is now.
It's not just
Yes.
Biden. Yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Oh, guess who's at the top of the list for the most wealth gained while they were in Congress or the White
Probably
House?
Nancy Pelosi. That would be
No.
no.
No, Bill and his beautiful
Oh
bride.
yes.
They came in with something like less than 3 million, in estimated wealth to 240 million.
I think Obama had something like that too. He was worth less than $1 million.
His went up to 70 million.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He
I knew it
just
had a
didn't
7 in it.
try as hard as the Clintons.
But yeah, I mean, but how do you do that on a $400,000 salary is what I want to know. I mean, he must have had one heck of a savings plan and a good dental plan apparently too. But it is interesting how these people make so much money after being a public servant.
Or while they're a public servant.
Yes. A lot of them come back and say, well, it's book sales. I don't buy that because I don't know anybody that owns those
Well,
books.
Hunter does it through painting sales.
He is such a good painter. I mean, I think he paints with his toes, but it's very, very interesting painting. But, you got to fund a crack habit somehow. You can't just go ahead and you can't just slide a credit card. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I did see his speech on the floor and went, okay. And then when he got to the Supreme Court, I went, they have ethics. They have to, what are you talking about? It's like, we need to get rid of guns. How about you follow the laws that are already on the books?
Right.
Same thing with immigration. How about you follow the laws on the books?
And I want to imagine
people are tired of being invaded. That's getting that's another thing. Yeah, Biden's lying to us. Oh, we're going to start building the wall. They're not. He's not doing anything. He's just saying he's going to. Nothing's happening.
I figured with the election coming up, that's
oh
what
yeah,
he's gonna say.
That's the only reason for it, because they're seeing across the board for Democrats that is a huge anchor.
They asked Corinne Jean-Pierre about it the other day. She's like going, I haven't seen all that speech. I have no idea what you're talking about. So, because she said,
oh, was she playing Schultz again? Yeah, I know nothing.
I see nothing. Oh my gosh, Sergeant Schultz. That's a great way to put that. Melanie Phillips. I don't know if you've ever heard of her. I have not up until recently. She's a British journalist, author, and public commentator. She's been quoted. She quoted Irving Kristol, which is an American journalist and dubbed the godfather of neoconservatism. She said she defines herself as a liberal who has been mugged by reality. And I just love that. Because, it's an ideology.
Liberal mugged by reality.
Yeah.
That is true. There's a lot of them going, wait, this stuff is, I can't. Yeah, there's people leaving the Democratic Party in droves.
I think so. I think a lot of them are in California, and that's why there's so many people moving to Texas and Arizona
and
or
here.
wherever. And in Idaho. So thankfully we're too far away.
Lord, yes.
They can't get the U-Haul to get them.
Well, they make it to Florida, sort of. Well, it's mostly New Yorkers you got.
Yeah, we've got more New Yorkers and maybe even some Michiganders and so wherever I-75 and I-85 kind of go. I mean, they pass through here, they get tired and they stop. So, which is very disconcerting. Anyway, she has said some pretty interesting things over the years. This Melanie Phillips, and this is something she said recently, and here that is.
Truth has become a right-wing concept. You cannot say it, because if you say it, you are considered right-wing, and to be right-wing is to be in league with the forces of evil. Education was turned from being the transmission of a culture down through the generations into the overturning of a culture on the basis that the culture was illegitimate, racist, colonialist, and all the rest of it.
Colonial. It's funny there was colonialist, but I mean, that's why the one side loves to yell at people who stand up for common sense or even factual things. You're homophobic, you're transphobic, racist, science denier. If you don't want an experimental injection, or if you don't want to chop the bits off of your 4-year-old little boy because he wants to play with a Barbie, I mean, come on now. That's just common sense.
Yeah, and here again, I said I didn't know any of them. Yeah, I heard that one too.
I might have sent it to you.
One I sent to you. I don't know.
You might have sent it to me. I don't know.
I've only got short little I bit my tongue. Bits of time, and sometimes my brain just gets tired when I'm working on the lines. It's like, I gotta quit. I just gotta step away for a bit, and I'll rummage through new stuff and look at the things you and the wife send me, and then go, okay, I'm going to see some other things that I saw, pass it back and forth. Okay, I'm done, back to learning lines. So yeah, no, I heard her, and I thought that was very well put, and it's happening a lot. But in California right now, the ones who can't leave can't afford to leave, and they would like to, but they're just kind of stuck there. That's a bad situation to be in.
It is. But I think that you mentioned this earlier. I think that the further left that the talking heads of the Democratic Party go, I think they end up alienating their own base. When Joe Biden ran for president, he kind of came out as this centrist, this voice of common sense, this well-rounded old-fashioned guy that he turned out not to be. As soon as he took office, he shifted way to the left, shut down the pipeline, shut down a lot of things that people on the Democratic side and the Republican side both wanted that Trump had done. That he destroyed it all.
48 hours he was no longer a centrist.
Yeah, no,
literally the first 48 hours, I'll bet he had writer's cramp.
But I think that's a uniquely Democratic thing, though. It seems like when people let me put it to you this way: if a Republican ran as a centrist, nobody would vote for him. Because if all of a sudden, I'm for teachers talking to kids about sexuality and all that kind of stuff. It's like most Republicans or most people on the right would go, well, you're out there, forget you. But if the Democrats start going, well, maybe the border wall isn't a bad idea, or any of those type issues, if they kind of like come at it from a little bit of a more center focused standpoint, then they'll get the center people. They'll get the independents, the people who think that, well, at least they're not a crazy extreme on one side or the other. But the Republicans can't do that. They can't have somebody come out there and go, play both sides of the aisle, because it will never work.
No, because only one side would be played by the media. And somebody was talking to me about that this week, about the media's input and all this stuff. And they are complicit in all of this fake news and things, the narratives that they make. And again, I do look at MSN almost every night and go, that's not even the news story. I saw it firsthand, played on the floor of Congress. That ain't what was said, people. And it spun and changed, and it's like, what?
It's all according to an agenda, unfortunately, and I hate that for him. Speaking of agenda, I think we can get to this before we go. The New York Attorney General Letitia James went on a news talk show last week and said this.
The President of the United States has complained that I'm engaging in some sort of political witch hunt, that I've got some personal vendetta against him, that I campaigned against him. That is not true.
That's just not true. It couldn't be true.
A vendetta? Not a vendetta, but a vendetta. He's got a vendetta.
He's got that vendetta thing, and it's like, I told him to keep it in his pants.
But it's like, what? Me? Oh, I am so innocent. There's no way I would do that. Oh, it's just, what do you mean there's stuff on the internet? What are you saying?
Yeah, she's reasonable, only wants justice, but yeah, here's the internet, comes back to bite her.
This illegitimate president who sits in the White House. That president, because he's not my president, he's an illegitimate president. His days are numbered. We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated. We will all rise up and resist this man, and ultimately we'll bring him down. This illegitimate president, I'm going to give you the same level of respect that you gave to President Obama, and that is absolutely no respect at all. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! And the day of Donald Trump are numbered. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock him up. Lock him up.
What? She can't hear. But anyway, it's the internet came back to bite her.
It's like
sounds like a personal vendetta to me.
What was the one thing? Irritating and
agitating,
and
like a washing machine agitating.
Wait a minute! If you're irritated, aren't you already agitated?
You would think they're synonymous, but yeah, I mean, But,
well, if you just have that rash looked at, I mean.
Oh my gosh. One thing I can say real quick here is Tucker Carlson was speaking about this weird hatred for Donald Trump. This what is the Trump derangement syndrome, TDR. So anyway, he had this to say, which was pretty good, I think.
Honestly, why do they hate Trump so much? It's the talking. It's It's not because Trump's program is so radical. Are you joking? No, it has nothing to do with what he does. It has everything to do with the fact that for whatever reason, his brain is not entirely controlled by the people in charge. Like, what did Trump do wrong? I mean, you can say, oh, he's orange or whatever, okay, fine. But like, has he really committed a crime so severe that we should send him to prison for the rest of his life? That's insane. And half the Republicans in Washington, probably closer to about 95%, would be very psyched if he went to prison for the rest of his life. So why is that? I'll tell you exactly why. I know, because I've watched this really carefully from Washington for his entire term. They hate Trump because they fear Trump. And they fear Trump not because of what he might do, but because what he might say. And at any moment, Trump might be autistic enough to tell the truth about what's actually happening.
Might be autistic enough. I hate that somebody put the music behind that, but it just made it hard to hear. But yeah, I mean, like we've always talked about, it's like he comes out and says what he sees, and talking about the swamp, and swamp creatures hate to be exposed.
Oh, they don't like it at all. It's like you flip the lights on and they all go scurrying for a place to hide like cockroaches.
Like cockroaches, first thing in the morning. I've never lived in that situation. No,
that happened in a hotel in Missouri one time. I'd heard about it, but we don't have much for cockroaches around here. It's too dry and hot. There's nothing for them to survive on.
When I was a kid in Florida, we couldn't afford the pest control. I don't know how much that was, but we were kind of lower middle class. So it's like when I flipped on the light in the kitchen, you heard at least 4 or 5 of them scatter first thing in the morning, at 6 in the morning. Of course, those are the big palmetto bugs. They look like roaches, but they were, I think they, anyway. You know, I mean, you get used to it. And I mean, I was always used to it. That was just the way it was. So, but yeah, that's exactly what happens. You flip the light on where you can see, and that's exactly what Trump has done. He's flipped the light on, and people who have a little bit of common sense and actually can decipher truth from fiction, you know, it's kind of ugly. So,
Yep, it's sad.
Yeah, what are you going to do? We're up against a break. We'll come back in just a minute. We'll talk about an FBI whistleblower. It's kind of a weird story, but hang in there. We'll be right back.
The Stay Off My Lawn radio show and podcast. We may not be the best, but it's better than a proctology appointment.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for youth.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals into your body.
And nicotine, which can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping.
Because when you talk, they hear you.
Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3, and you're more than halfway there. I mean, it's like the overtime. It's all over. Yeah. Taylor Swift is already saying it's over.
You're this far. Kelsey's not with her at the moment. You know, you made it this far. Why not stay for the rest?
Kelsey's probably going to get another booster because we just.
It's like, oh my God,
what a mess that is. Golly.
Yeah.
Anyway, news broke Thursday that an FBI whistleblower has told Newsweek, of all places, that the FBI will begin targeting MAGA Republicans.
You mean like they haven't been already?
Supposedly not, but yeah.
Yeah, I got news for you.
The thing that gets me is MAGA Republicans. A made-up term. I mean, I don't know whether Uncle Joe came up with that, but somebody come up with MAGA Republicans. It might have been Hillary. But anyway, can we call Biden supporters moron Democrats or
let's be polite and call them maroons.
Maroons. That's right. The Bugs Bunny maroon. Yes.
That's right. Hey, man, maroon.
Or we could call them Massa Democrats. You know, make America suck again. We could do that.
No offense, but I'm thinking massa might have a bad connotation. Just saying.
That's right. People get canceled for that kind of thing.
Oh
my gosh. The federal government believes.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to point that out.
No, that's great.
I just went, wait a minute.
You went to a direction I didn't expect.
While I heard it, went, What?
Yeah, we don't. Forget I said any of that. We were just talking about that. I don't edit any of this stuff out. So I mean, enjoy that slip up there. The article said that the federal government believes that the threat of violence and major civil disturbance around the 2024 U.S. presidential election is so great that it has quietly created a new category of extremists that it seeks to track and counter. Donald Trump's army of MAGA followers. That was a quote out of the magazine.
Wait a minute. They're saying Republicans are violent? I have seen several articles where a gal was a quote-unquote journalist, which she was actually doing some research on stuff. And so a friend invited her to a Republican rally, and she went expecting to hear all this hate talk and speech, and it was a black lady. And she goes, I was just welcomed with open arms. Everybody was happy to be there. They were all positive. She goes, I was not expecting everything that I've heard and my colleagues is, it's just horrible, blah, blah. Yeah. She goes, I went for myself. Everybody was wrong.
This is not the press.
Why are they thinking, what cities, let's just use an example of cities are having issues with being burnt down, with having rampant crime, carjackings in your own freaking driveway. Yep. Let's see, that would be all. I think all those cities leaders and state leaders for that all have a big D after their name. And there's 3 other letters that go with that, but a big D after their name. We're talking Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. We just keep going across the state. Chicago, Minneapolis.
New York.
Let's see, New York. You just keep moving around the country where all the big D folks are in charge. Why are they thinking that this happens in Republican states? I don't get it. It's funny. Not where the problem is.
No, it's certainly not.
At all.
I think most big cities are run by the big D's. So I mean, it's really kind of funny, and on this show, for me personally, anyway, I'm not going to speak for Richard, but I don't wave pom poms for any candidate. I don't have a Donald Trump sticker on my truck. I don't have a Donald Trump T-shirt. I don't have a Ron DeSantis underwear. I don't have Vivek Ramaswamy socks.
Really? I heard they're really comfy.
They are comfy. I've tried them on at the store, but I put them back. But for me, I've educated myself on the issues and have an idea of the best way to deal with those issues. And I vote for the candidate that closely resembles my opinions on those issues. I will not be endorsing Trump or anyone else. So, I mean, if you're waiting for me to come out and say, go to a Trump rally, donate some money, I'm not going to do that because.
No, I don't do that either. I think our politics are pretty much the same. We look at all the stuff and go, okay, yeah, there are some things I don't think Trump. Shut up sometimes. Just stop. Please just stop.
Exactly.
You're doing fine. Just stop. And then you've got other ones like, we've been talking about the last few weeks, Vivek, who we both like to start with. And then the more we hear him going, man, he's just way too perfect. Yeah. And then now it's come out, it's word for word stealing stuff from Obama's speeches.
Isn't that something?
It's like, you know what? I mean, it's not just a paraphrase. It's flipping word for word. And it's like, okay, you've had other dealings with Soros and it's just somebody that kind of like, I'm saying all this is the right thing. And then if he were to get in there, it's like, I feel like it would be another Biden. He would revert to what he has been through. I don't believe him anymore. Yeah. You have shown yourself to be a liar and a cheat and steal other people's words for running for public office. Again, there's this thing called the internet, and we all have this magic little box that fits in our hands that we can look up anything instantly.
And it doesn't even have to be Obama. I mean, if he stole, Jefferson's speech word for word and started, I don't care what the content is. If you're taking somebody else's speech and saying it word for word and not giving them credit and not saying, well, like Thomas Jefferson said, or like Barack Obama said, or like whatever. I mean, then you don't have the morals that I want in a leader. I mean, unfortunately, I have a level, and you can say that Trump doesn't meet that, and that may be in a lot of ways he doesn't. But I mean, when it comes down to it, whoever ends up, and I'm not even going to tell you who I'm going to vote for in the primary, which I've already pretty much made up my mind. But if it comes down to Trump in the general, then yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump, and that's just kind of the way that works. But I'm not going to tell you that I'm waving my pom poms for anybody. I think that's just kind of silly.
Yeah, you shouldn't wave your pom poms at anybody.
See, exactly. Waving is something that's kind of old fashioned. I try to stay away from that stuff.
Oh, crap.
But we do hope that you stay informed. Listen to not just us, but listen to other people. Listen to their message, and use your God-given intellect to make up your own mind and go your direction, because that's who we are. I think as Republicans, we did. Unfortunately, they like to try to say that we're just nothing but followers. Whatever Trump says, and there's probably a faction of that. Whatever Trump says, well, I'll be on board with. Yeah, I mean, I've never been to a rally. I've never been to. I don't think I've ever even been to an office of an elected official. No. So I mean, I think most.
But we do keep an eye on him, and I don't think that the opposition likes Trump because he made a lot of promises when he was running, and he kept all of his promises, and it makes them all look bad, and they don't like that. I'm going to build a war. I'm going to make sure that we're energy independent. I'm going to make sure there was another big thing but it all happened, and our economy went from being, it was kind of limping along. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of there, to holy crap, man, things can be good when you do this.
Yeah.
And all they want to do is tax. I'm telling you, all they want to use is their left rhetoric on saying that, if you just give tax to the corporations, they'll just put it in their own pockets. No, they want to grow and be more profitable. And if you just stick it in your pocket and do nothing with it, and don't hire more people, and don't find places to grow and increase with, you're going to be defunct. So they don't understand how business works. All they want to say is big business, bad, ugh. They don't know what they're even talking about, because none of them have a business degree or have ever ran a business.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point. I will say, though, I think that the trickle-down economics that Reagan touted back in the 80s, that actually very much worked. I mean, we came from a long way from the years of Jimmy Carter and the way the economy looked during his 8 years in office, and it really did work. But I'm not sure that the CEOs of today would look at it the same way as far as getting those tax breaks and actually using them to expand their business or hire more people or whatever. I think there's especially if you look at CEO salaries and upper management salaries. I mean, it's grown 20 times at least since the 80s.
Some of that's got to go. Some of those. Why do you need $30 million, $40, $50, $100 million a year salary?
Yeah.
What the hell are you going to do with it? Where are you going to take it?
I agree. And but that is seemed to be the culture today, and I don't know whether trickle down economics would actually work the same way today. And maybe I'm cynical, but I'm just not sure. I think we have different leaders in business today than we used to, and taxing them isn't going to necessarily do anything either, because we
already have one of the highest corporate taxes in the world. And do you know that a lot of corporations that are owned by Democrats are basically centered in Ireland? It's a little country just outside Great Britain, in Ireland, and they gave Ireland their patents, so Ireland will charge them for the use of their own patents. So when the government tries to tax them, they're going, "Oh, hey, we're having to pay them for these patents, and it's their own patents." But then the Irish government, because the corporate tax in Ireland is 12%, in the U.S. it's 38%.
Oh boy.
There's a little variance, so they're going to go look somewhere else. But just look at California. There's an example. Tax the living crap out of them, and they've lost over 1 million people. Not to mention a lot of businesses that they get a lot of taxation from have up and said it's now worth it for us to pick up and move and go somewhere else.
Well, that's why they've tried to propose that tax to where even after you move, they can still tax you because of you moving out of the state.
And that's like not legal, and they've already tried it, and it didn't go anywhere.
But, they close up all these tax loopholes, and I think Trump said this to Hillary on stage back in 2016. It's like, you're not going to close up all these tax loopholes because your own people use these tax loopholes.
Their contributors are using the same stuff that I'm doing. Yeah. So don't tell me it's just me. Yeah. And she kind of went,
Next.
Yeah. Well, I give you another example. We had, several years ago, we call it Snowmageddon. We get snow, but not 2 feet of it on the ground. In this area, doesn't get that much. Yeah. Well, it caused buildings to collapse for onion storage buildings and that. In Oregon, it's the same as it is here as far as the ground is, and they grow a lot over there as well. And all these buildings, and one guy they interviewed him, and he said, well, I've been thinking about moving my stuff across the border, meaning he moved his business a total of like 20 miles.
Oh, wow.
His corporate headquarters uprooted he goes, I got to rebuild all this stuff anyway. The insurance is paying for it. So we're moving over to Idaho, and they picked up lock, stock, and barrel. And it's a huge operation now, literally 4 minutes from the Oregon border, because they were being taxed to death. And he goes, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And he moved
across. It's a huge operation. That means cumulatively, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. So,
and they just go, they can just move. And all of a sudden they're going to go, wait, we don't have any more of other people's money to, what are we going to do now? Mildred? We can't give it away to stuff we don't think anybody else should.
Mildred, where'd everybody go? I don't know where. Yeah. But until that really drives home, they'll just run deficits in those states too. California's got a big deficit too. So,
yep.
But anyway, we're up against a break. We come back. We're going to talk a little bit about a movie that's coming out at the end of the month. And some, let's see, economy talk. That's what it was. Couldn't remember what it was. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Kendra Rains. These two old dudes crack me up. That's why I listen to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn. Segment 4, we are almost done. We're having way too much fun.
We're so giddy that we're close to the end. Yay, bathroom break.
Anyway. If you could hear what we talk about in between while the commercials are playing, goodness gracious. And we did talk about Herman Cain, so we did bring up a good guy. Anyway, Dan Bongino and Dinesh D'Souza, which I'm sure you know those two names, have made a movie called Police State. It's supposed to come out on the 23rd or 25th, I think, one of the two this month. Here is part of that trailer. It's really interesting.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Chief Division Counsel and DOJ have approved a no-knock for each. We want the subject to be on display, doing the walk of shame, full visual impact. Any questions?
Are we becoming a police state?
Government told American citizens they couldn't go to church on Sunday.
I've never seen anything like it. It may be the Russia other people grew up in, but not my America.
FBI warrant, come to the door now!
There's a heavy banging at my door. Open up! There's 15 marked units on my property. I got SWAT in the back of my house.
They took a battering ram to my door.
6 a.m., I hear boom, 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 and hear about 6 to 8 military-style soldiers, with the tallest one of them pointing an automatic rifle at my head.
FBI, we have an arrest warrant!
Shock you out of sleep, drag you out of your house half clothed, refuse to give you a warrant, ransack your house,
Now I'm facing 15 years in federal prison
for doing nothing other than exercising my right to free speech.
I had no reason to be attacked.
I hope that you remember Matt's name and the role you played in killing him.
Yeah, that one voice was the guy, and I forgot where he was from, but he was standing outside of a Planned Parenthood reading Bible verses to people and talking to them about, that life begins at conception and the whole thing. Well, they found out that who he was. He was he worked at a church, I think it was. And so anyway, they brought the whole full force of the FBI at his house at 6 o'clock in the morning, arrested him, did the walk of shame out in front of everybody. It's like, this is just not, that's First Amendment stuff. We shouldn't be arrested for that kind of thing.
No, you should be able to say what's going on. Last election deal, speaking of First Amendment, I was doing news articles. Gentlemen would send me scripts and I would read them in front of the camera, do them on live, or well, not live, but they were recorded, but I didn't do much editing, in front of the camera. And the articles and the information was all said where the source come from. It was from this, it was said this, in this newspaper, and this deal, whatever. All the sources were there. All these other magazines or newspapers and radio stuff, where it was sourced from, but he got canceled by YouTube.
Of course.
Canceled twice to the point where he goes, I can't afford to start up. He had gotten up to the first time, he was up to a little over 20,000 followers and was starting to make headway. In fact, we had a couple articles that I did for him. It was during some of the stuff with the Supreme Court, whatever. I had views of over 100,000.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And then they go, hey, whoa, where did this come? No, we can't be having that. And shut him down.
What year was that?
Well, it would have been just before the last election, which was, would have been probably around 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
I think it was right around the 2020 stuff.
But, once Uncle Joe took office, a lot of the FBI and the DOJ and the Biden administration were talking directly to these social media platforms. And there's been lots of news stories out there about that. And it's like, get rid of people that are talking about this, and this. We were talking about that, what's-her-face lady that she was talking about Rogan talking to the mRNA guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Robert Malone. That when he interviewed Robert Malone, and of course Joe Rogan puts his stuff, a lot of his interview clips and everything up on YouTube. It was deleted by YouTube. I think it was deleted by Spotify and everybody. That whole interview was gone, and you can't even hear it anymore because he said uncomfortable things about the efficacy and the safety of the mRNA vaccine. It's just not ready.
And this was the gentleman who invented it and said this should not be used for this, let alone put into animals and whatever. And he just... This is a guy who knows what he's talking about. This is not someone making stuff up and saying, well, it might, it's possible, it could. No, he knows exactly what it's going to do. This is the gentleman who made it and founded it and is not liking what they're doing with it.
And they deleted him off the Wikipedia page. They deleted him off of everything. He doesn't even get credit anywhere on the internet, as far as I know, for being the inventor of that delivery system. And, and it's all because he just said, I don't know about this. It hasn't been proven safe. And it's like, well, forget it. I mean, they just got rid of him and anybody who interviewed him. The Dark Horse podcast, I think, is what broke the story. And so a bunch of people have just been silenced because they said uncomfortable things. And I think that was the Rogan thing. I think that was in mid 2021. But yeah, I mean, and it's been come out. The FBI and I think one of the DOJ whistleblowers have come out and said, well, yeah, we did that. And but again,
we did it.
But again, nothing will happen.
They've also, there was one other one that was proving these issues with the clots and what was there was a funeral home. And I forget what state. Oh, man, I hate it when I all of a sudden remember stuff and only half the file drawer opens. Anyway, it was a funeral home somewhere that this gentleman was talking about what it's doing to his equipment, and he can't embalm people because the blood is not fluid. It's not liquid. It's just giant, like rubber clots. And he had pictures in that. They invaded his funeral home, shut him down, confiscated all of his computers and everything. And so then he couldn't work.
I think the movie was on Rumble called "Died Suddenly," if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was about an hour and a half long, but it was extremely interesting. And these people were talking about real world things that happened to them. I did not know that he got shut down over all that, or he was one of several on there. So on that movie. But if you're like us, if you're old and you remember how the old Soviet Union used to look like.
Can you speak up this time, bud?
They used to come out of the old Soviet Union, and if you said anything against the state, well, we got firing squads for that.
So anyway, you can learn more about this movie if you go to policestatefilm.net and find out more information, maybe where it is showing near you or how you watch it online. I honestly have not gone to the website. We get nothing for this, but Dinesh D'Souza has put out a lot of good stuff. Obama's America, I think, was one of the better ones that he has done, and it's fantastic.
He researches the living bejeebies out of things. It's not just hearsay and, like the Dems say with all the racists, as soon as you don't agree with them, you're a racist.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all they do is they've watered that word down to the point of, whatever.
You're a homophobe, you're transphobe, you got all this, you're all these phobes. But anyway, if you haven't heard the term MAGA extremist enough, here is the angel of death reiterating her concern.
Today. And sadly, so many of those extremists, those MAGA extremists, take their marching orders from Donald Trump, who has no credibility left by any measure. He's only in it for himself. He's now defending himself in civil actions and criminal actions. And when do they break with him? Because at some point, maybe there needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members, but something needs to happen.
The cult members. Gosh.
Cult members. Wow. Talk about those who live in glass houses. Holy but geez.
I liked it better when she called us a basket of deplorables, but I would much
I'm better with that term.
Yeah.
I am a rather deplorable individual.
I am. I have deplorable tendencies. One more news story before we get to our palate cleanser. Uncle Joe was asked about the economy on Friday, and here is his response. Now, I have to warn you, this is a little painful.
Economic report. Why do you think most people still don't feel positive or feel good news about the economy?
Well, first of all, you just heard the news today, too. They haven't heard it. I think the people, those 300,000+ people who got jobs, feel better about the economy. Look, I got to choose my words here. You all are not the happiest people in the world. What's your report? And I mean it sincerely. It gets you get more legs when you're reporting something that's negative. I don't mean you're picking on me. I'm just the nature of things. You turn on the television, and there's not a whole lot about boy saves dog as he swims in the lake. To say it's about somebody pushed the dog in the lake. I mean, I get it, but
he's thinking.
If you just listen to what's going on around the world, there's reason for people to be concerned. There's reason for people to be concerned what's going on in Russia. There's reason to be concerned about what's going on in other parts of the world. I think that the American people are smart as hell and know what their interests are. I think they know they're better off financially than they were before. It's a fact. And all that data, all that polling stuff shows they think they're more positive about the economy than they've been, more positive about their jobs, et cetera. I just think let me put it this way. If you just watch what happened last week in the Congress, how excited are you going to be about much of anything?
Talking about the McCarthy thing.
Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, if we didn't mention this, we do not have a Speaker of the House at the moment. But yeah, it's like he makes up these polling numbers. There is no such polling numbers. It shows people
just ask. Everybody's better off. You and I are both pretty decent with our money, and because we're retired, you got to watch things. My budget has been hit to the tune of pretty close to $400 a month more just to do exactly what I was doing before. I am down to where I don't have hardly any discretionary income anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And now that I've got these twin grandbabies, it's pretty bad. But Senator Kennedy, John Kennedy from Louisiana, was on the Senate floor the other day, and he was giving a little bit different take on things.
All goods, as a result of President Biden's inflation, starting in February of 2021 and running through today, all goods are up an average of 17%. How many American families have seen their income go up 17%? Not many.
Not mine.
Food, all food, an average is 19%. Housing is up 16%. Clothing is up 10%. Used cars and trucks are up 32%. And even if we can get inflation down to zero, we're going to be stuck with those prices.
Yeah, using his home state as an example, he posted this the other day. He said Biden inflation is costing the average Louisiana family $798 more every month. Of course, that goes out to about $9,600 a year. So,
it's and they're talking about, you're not going to get as big an increase with Social Security. Yeah, we're going to get a piddling little 3.3, maybe 3.3% increase in Social Security. This ain't keeping up with life. I don't know where this is supposed to help and meet inflation, because it ain't doing it, people.
The funny thing is, I saw a stat on the average wage increase over the last 3 years as opposed to the inflation rate. And, the chart that I saw was like, it was, I think the average wage went up maybe 3 or 4%. And of course it was 17 to 20% of inflation. And of course, the funny thing is, when I went back to find the actual numbers so I could pass that on, it's been scrubbed. It's gone. I couldn't find it. So
we can't put real honest to God numbers. Come on, the only thing you're allowed to read is made up ones.
Well, hey, we got a terrible taste in our mouth from all this today. Tim Hawkins
likes like a hairball stuck.
We saw Tim Hawkins live down in at Church of Marietta some years ago, and he was just fantastic. He makes your stomach hurt and your eyes leak, and so anyway, here he is. He talks a lot about the not necessarily anybody particular in government, but just how government works. And here we go.
Yeah, man, and I know I love music, and a lot of music inspires me. I love our national anthem. I know it's been taking a few hits recently. I don't know. I think it's the greatest national anthem in the world. I'm proud of it. I get it. It's free speech, man. You can think what you want. I personally, but I think it's the best national anthem in the world. I really do. I mean, I don't know anybody else's, but I'm sure it's the best. Have you heard Russia's national anthem? It's ridiculous. It's like, speak English, you weirdos. They always let people, like famous people, sing the national anthem. Usually at the Super Bowl, man, they always had people sing it. And sometimes people do their own version of the national anthem, right? Do their little style. Sometimes it's really cool, and sometimes it's really not. I love reggae. I always wanted to hear Bob Marley, the reggae man, sing our national anthem his way. I think it would sound something like this.
Oh, say, can you see? By the dawn's early light, man, the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in the air, but the flag's still there.
That's pretty good, I thought, right? They never had Elvis Presley sing his version of the national anthem, right? The king, I think Elvis. Oh. Can you stand and face the flag? The game's about to start. Please remove your hat and put your hand over your heart. Don't be cruel to the red, white, and blue. Don't be cruel to the red, white, and blue. Hey, come on. Thank you, yeah. How about Guns N' Roses? Guns N' Roses. Let's go there. I just want to see Axl sing our national anthem.
Oh, we got a flag that it seems to be. Reminds me we live in the land of the free. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? Now and then when I see it wave, it takes me away to the home of the brave. It stands for liberty and freedom, so let it fly. Whoa, sweet stars and stripes. Ow, 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 sweet stars and stripes.
Oh man, he's really good. I was thinking that I had the different. I've got another one for next week. He talks a little bit about government. It's really good. He's very musical. If you get a chance to see Tim Hawkins, he comes to your church or something, go see him. He's fantastic. So anyway, that's our palate cleanser. And that's our show for this week. We are so glad that you hung out with us. And don't forget, you can find us on Google, Spotify, iHeart, and I'm sure just about any of them that you want to find us on. We're on YouTube now, youtube.com/@StayOffMyLawn. And Instagram, you can find our, we put up a little bit of content. We put our promos on there, Instagram.com/StayOffMyLawn podcast.
Yeah, you'll get to see what the show's about. You can listen to that and see us be goofy. And yeah, I don't edit a lot of that either.
See our ugly mugs.
Yeah, I have been doing lines and stuff so much that if I don't try to drop it down a voice, I sound like a 13-year-old kid going through the change. But gee, Dad. Anyway, so I'm squeaking on there today. Enjoy that. But you can find all of our stuff on our website at stayoffmylawn.us for all our past and current episodes.
And we will see you next week.
Toodles, folks. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.